All right, welcome to everybody in Shenandoah and my friends in New Hampshire. I'm going to go through this in some kind of a fashion here that's hopefully going to make sense to people. All right, that should share screen. So what I'm doing to start with is to go through a whole variety of slides, and the original as well as what I've done for making abstract or creative. There's a difference between the two formally, but basically it's an abstract if you don't know what it is, and it's creative if you can tell what it is. So we're going to start this, and I feel like everything, it should be for fun, is what basically I do all this stuff for, and it's also should be helpful in terms of learning the software, which it definitely is, and it gives you unique images when you're done. So those are the reasons that I spend a lot of time doing this. I don't expect everybody is going to spend that much time, but that's what I have on my hands is time now, and so I spend it doing creative images, if you will. So this is a marina in Charleston, South Carolina, and I thought that was a beautiful. I love the texture and the variety of colors. Those are the two things that bring my attention to shooting the original image. This is what I made. Did that change for everybody? Yeah, okay. People are shaking their heads.
Yes,
so.
Yes,
Right.
it did.
So this is using Photoshop, and I'm using radial blur and twirl, and that's how you can take the same colors that were in the other image and go ahead and make these designs. There's quite a few different settings, and that's what gives you the different designs. This is taking that same image that I just showed you, the abstract, and used Photoshop extrude and use a variety of images till I found one that I liked. And so this is using what they call blocks. They have blocks and pyramids, and this is blocks, and a whole lot of variety of stuff that you can use on that type of image also. All right, then moving on to the Blue Ridge, Blue Ridge, way down south, just up from Charleston, I believe it was, not Charleston, I forget the name of the place now, but anyway, quite a ways down in Virginia. And wait, that moves awful quickly when I don't want it to. So this, I love the fence and the trees, not the sky. And so we have a couple alternatives to do that. And one would be using a topaz abstract filter and to mask off the fence. You could leave the fence, but I masked off the fence, and just to try to get a good leading line in without making that all out of whack. And the colors can be all changed around in that topaz abstract filter. Another way to solve it is to go with a sky replacement, and I had a sky with a nice moon in it, and it was in the right place. And that's what happens if you go for years and years and you collect these skies and moons, and you ever wonder where you're going to use it. This would be in type an example where you can do that. I've gone ahead and darkened a little bit of the foreground, a little bit using that sky replacement software, but I used the Photoshop method. Well, pardon me, every once in a while here, I'm going to need a drink because I have dry mouth syndrome. Okay. Then I did Fun Spot. It's a place here in New Hampshire with thousands of video and machines, old games. And so I was looking for nice, pretty colors while my son and his wife were playing. And I used the Topaz swirl and zoom to, and that's to make that that configuration. A little bit different position, but still basically different lights. Just trying to do something different and using, basically the only difference between the two is the lights that are coming up into the image. As I said, there was going to be a variety. These are holy mackerels. I had a fisher dock down in Cape Cod, I think it was, and they have a little bit too much blood where the heads were cut off. And my wife thought that was inappropriate, so I made it into a black and white, and then went on to Topaz and used this AI remix, which allows you to do a whole variety of patterns as well as colors. And you can go in there and you could make it look like no fish at all, but bring back the opacity, and you can make that work. Maybe, everybody's not going to be happy with most of my images, but if 50% of you do, then we're on a good path. It's the way it is with this kind of photography. Years ago, I shot this picture of this red maple, and I kept it and never knew what I was going to do with it because it just didn't stand out enough for me with all the red. So I went here with Topaz. I used Topaz quite a bit, and put a zoom, what they call a zoom filter on it, and that takes the foreground or the background and makes it blurry and streaky. And no, it's not a great image, but I wanted to give you an example what you can do to bring out part of the image to make it work for you. All right, then we have to go to a Virginia car show. Nelda, am I going to be able to get credit for using this for when you go to the car show next week? Nelda's on there. She's organizing a field trip for the Virginia club to go.
Well, we did it Saturday, Bob. We missed you.
Oh, was this car there?
No,
Oh,
not that I know of.
okay.
It was so hot. I stayed in the shade, and I saw them as they exited.
I understand. Okay, so what I did with that is then use this Topaz and taking and using mask on certain portions of the image, and then twist basically not twist, it's twirl the part of the image so that you can distort it. Still looks like a car maybe, but I've used some of these in competition, and depending on the judge, they like them or they don't. But if you just have a plain car, then it's easy. They're not going to necessarily give you any extra for that. So then here's another one where I just did a couple other extra swirls and brought you a little bit more of an image, if you will, in terms of making it more centered.
Bob,
Yes.
I have a question. When you do a mask, if you don't like it, can you cancel it? Because I can't ever seem to find that.
Yes. Yeah, you can on either the Photoshop or the Topaz.
Okay. Is there something that says cancel or?
Well, you at the very least you can go back to where you started from.
Reset?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I can ever find. And I sometimes just want to take a
Yeah,
little
but
mask off.
if you do the Option Z, I don't know what the PC lingo is for that, but on a Mac, the Option Z will take you back a step.
Oh,
and you can go
okay.
back about 6 different steps.
All right.
Give that a try. All right.
Thank you.
Then taking this the same car image without the other stuff on the front, and I put this into polar coordinates, and that way you can make it a little bit even more strange. Okay. My door from Virginia that had a winter sunrise on it, and that has all these nice lines that are in the glass to give you a nice reflection. And some of you have seen these images or some of the images before, but because this is a door that I've used multiple times. This is taking that same door and putting on an oil filter, which I believe I used the oil filter from Photoshop. I like that a little bit better than the oil filter from Topaz. But you can see here where it picks up the reflections, and different days you can get different reflections. Winter, you can get more of the blue that was snow on the ground there. So you get a little bit more blue, and before the sunrise comes up, you can get a nice image if you're ready for it. This is using the polar coordinates again for the door, a different day, I believe, because it was before and it was not. So I didn't have the whole glass lit, only a portion of it. So you're looking for the leading lines that bring you into the image. Reflections, all this stuff you can take and use your own sliders to enhance whatever colors you want or whatever the features you want, shadows or just the basic exposure. Okay. A different time, but this is the same image where taken and putting in polar coordinates and used the different portions of the selecting different portions of the glass, and you can really go kind of way out on this type of thing to say that can't possibly be that same glass we were just looking at, but it is, like I said, may have been a different day with different light. The other the colors, the greens and that stuff comes from using the differential blending mode. So that's what makes a big difference if you're looking for something to be different and punchy, go to the differential. Sometimes it's completely crazy and you never use it, but this one worked fine for me, I think. Doing black and white, no reason you can't use black and white for black and white competition, or to even make a print to sell it to somebody. Okay, then I went out on a limb and I asked a good friend from the Manchester Club, good friend from over 20 years, and to send me some images that she would like to have me do some creativity on, because she's she shoots great images, but she just doesn't have the confidence to say, all right, where do I start? Which one do I go with? And how do I do something with it? So I went out, and this is what I came up with on these. It's obviously me, in terms of the artist, because I'm looking at it from the point of view that I was the one that shot it, and therefore I'm the one that's going to edit it. But you'd be the person that makes the decisions yourself. So I went ahead, and this is upside down, but it's this is the glass vase on the bottom, and then this is using the radio blur and the twirl from Photoshop. And you can play on that and come up with certainly many other configurations, but that's basically just taking the 3 stems that we have here and using those to your advantage. All right, then I don't have an idea where this is, but probably someplace more in the southern swamp, cedar swamp or something like that. But while it's a beautiful image and it's got a beautiful reflection, I just felt it had a little too much detail. And yet when you look at, if you try to look at the leaves and the flowers, they're just not tack sharp, probably because the wind was blowing, or maybe it's just no way you could get everything. They're in back. So I came up with an idea of using a topaz soft blur type of thing. And I thought that worked in terms of making the leaves a little bit softer and the water a little softer. It just takes some of that sharp part off that isn't really lending itself to the image, in my mind anyway. So then we went on to Christmas bulbs, and some of these, trying to decide what the heck to do. These, just so you know, like these the lights, that window lights maybe reflecting off these bulbs, and that affected my edit. So but I think I went around and went ahead and took the first bulb and put a mask around this so you would see that. And then I went ahead and used the topaz mask and zoom, which is all these lines. And then this is the swirl, and came up with that as an image. A candle or something like that, I guess, candle holder. And said, okay, I don't see where the desk is helping me anything anyway. And get that little plug in the back there. So I went ahead and did a mirror image of it, which is basically take one and then the other one you flip, put it into Photoshop, and then doing I think it's a lighten blend mode, and come up with something that is definitely, I think, more interesting than the way it was photographed. She probably didn't even think that she was going to use that anyway. But so this is just another alternative that you can do. If you can change colors in Photoshop or in Lightroom, then you can go ahead and make other colors besides the black here. Okay, moving on. Picture of ice somewhere, lake, river, parking lot, not sure. They travel a lot, so they could be anywhere in this country. But as she shot it, I couldn't really figure out what subject that I would want to highlight or something, how would I fix this type of image. got a few little holes here, but that's no biggie. So I cheated a little bit in that I have a blue ice, blue-green ice image that I put in here as a composite. And it works perfectly because with the other lines that are there, it all works perfectly well. So as long as you feel like you can use composites image that's not yours, I'm not pretending that it was mine, but it just gives you a lot of options if that's what you need to do to solve that image. Similarly on this one, which is ice, and it looks like maybe gravel on something underneath. I'm saying, okay, I'm not sure how I would handle that one per se, but we'll give it a shot. And I took the easy route on that because I couldn't find a better way in my mind to what to highlight. And this is using the Topaz AI Remix. And there's many different options, but it's a matter of putting in there, moving some sliders, no different than your other processing. Just move sliders up and down until something works and pops. And so I think that this works. Everybody agree? I'm sure not, but that's the way it is. Okay. Then most of you probably that know me for shooting flower stuff. So all that other stuff is what you can do in addition to flowers. And so there is plenty of other images that you can shoot. This is some calla lilies, happen to be in Amsterdam, but there's really only a couple here that are sharp. And this was taken with a longer lens and probably handheld. So what I did is went ahead and used the expressions filter from Topaz, and that just took away all the objectionable, some of the highlights that were not needed, and just made a nice flow. Another way of doing it is to take and use a Topaz Impressionism filter, and that gives you a completely different look. Yeah, it's got a lot of the highlights here, which some of that you can knock that down. If you wanted to bother you, then you could knock down the highlights a little bit more. But it's just another way that you can take that same image and to make changes to it. This is also in Amsterdam. It was some of the hyacinths, and this is pretty much a straight shot. I didn't do anything really to it until I got it home and I put it on the Expressionism filter, and that just put a little bit more swirls in there and a little bit more texture is what I thought it did. Then I took that image and then put it into Topaz and did the not Topaz, into Photoshop and did a radial blur and the twirl. Where do we go here? All right, well, I did something. Why did that do that? Okay. Don't know why. But here we are. Okay. So that's when we put the twirl on it, and then went ahead and put it into the Photoshop extrude filter. And if you get back and look at it, yeah, you can still pick up that fact that maybe flowers, but it just gives you all the kind of texture that you would need. And I think I like this, as you know, I probably I'm always on the more vibrant side of the colors than many people, but that's just my style and my desire. And I think these options are all there for everybody to put, rather than if there's a creative type of thing, rather than just change one color here or there or blur something, go out and shoot, go ahead and shoot for the different look and to learn from it, and you'll be much happier. I'm not sure if Ellen's on with us tonight or not, but she went ahead and took a different route while using in-camera movement. Nothing wrong with that at all. I use it on occasion here. But it is a satisfying thing, because when you there's a combination of shots that you expect, that what you wanted them to look like, and they come back that way. Then there's others that say, how could that happen? But it does. The magic happens in that fraction of a second when the camera's recording. And so like I said, I just think that that's one of the things that I enjoy, is to make it make something fun. And all right, so here I have lots of daylilies that my wife raised, and these I've had much better luck with with the brighter centers. This happens to be a yellow one, but there's a whole bunch of them that do not have a brighter center, and they don't they're not as translucent to cause the center of the image, like here, to cause that center of the image to be brighter, and that brings your eye into the back into the image. This is basically using the Photoshop radio blur and the twirl. And one of the hints that you might try is that radio blur, the thing goes from 0 to 100. And I used to used to edit at the 50. And then as I get thinking that more and more of those look the same, I went ahead and started to go down to 5 and 10. And the lower the number, the more prevalent the image stays, in terms of what it stays closest to what you started with. If you go up to that 50 to 100, then it's going to make it obliterate the whole thing, which it calls for at times. So that's something to think of, and you can play with that, and you can go move this. There's a little up and down squares where you can pick the center of the image, can be moved up or down or side to side, and then that moves this off of center. So all of that. How do I get the hearts? These things traditionally come up with a lot of hearts, which a lot of judges like hearts, and our viewers for that matter. So it's a matter of giving that a try for as much as you can. All right, a little bit different one here, where I've masked off some of the flower parts there, and then gone ahead and done my famous twirls. They're famous because you guys think that's all I shoot. And oh, here's another one. And this is using that extrusion again. And instead of blocks, these are pyramids. And these are real small pyramids, and you can make them very large. And that's another slider that goes, I think, from 10 up to 100 or 200, pardon me. It goes up to high numbers, and the higher the number, the bigger they are. And also, the smaller the number, the longer your computer is going to take to process these. But that's the same. It's the same image here, over here. Just a matter of putting that, going into, instead of hitting save, just go in and add extrusion filter to it. Okay, this is the way your daylilies might look. in your yard. And after a while, yeah, they just get tired of them looking all like that. So I go ahead and here's a 7 exposure, multiple exposure, and to give that some nice in-camera movement, if you will, at the same time while you're doing the extra exposure. Then taking that image and using it with the in-camera movement. What else did I had here? Oh, with the extrusion. I put in the extrusion blocks, and that can give you that that other look. There's a couple other options in there for those extrusions about, and don't forget those, because there's a there's a lay flat. It doesn't say that. I don't have that name right in front of me, but it's to give the take all the texture and put it flat or exaggerated, if you will. So this is one that's exaggerated a little bit more, but I love the colors, and you get some, I think, people would take that over the original here. Okay. Another daylily with water drops, which are always my favorites to have water drops. Always good to go out in the rain and shoot your flowers. And what I did with that one is I made those, and that definitely is definite looking. My wife didn't like it. She thought her flowers were pretty the way they were, but I have to put up with that all the time, that she doesn't like my edits. But she's a purist. But there's a secret filter, and if you write down Photoshop and the glow, I forget what's the name of that now. Here, lost my place. Glowing edges. The glowing edges, and that puts edges around the water drops and around the edges of the leaves and all around the other parts of the flowers. But if you try that, if you have water spots on anything and you're trying to do something different, use that glowing edges filter. You find it up with the filters in Photoshop, and a few little adjustments to it, but you just take the sliders back and forth and find out what works for you. And you'll be surprised with what you can come up with. Taking out a garden in New Hampshire there was all sorts of, couldn't pass it up because it's a nice texture of all those black-eyed Susies, but I wanted to do something different with them. And so I put in the rippling water there, and it adds a nice texture, and then adds a little bit of creativity there that someone would say, okay, that person thought about it, and it really makes it look much better. And this is a latest thing that I've done here, is because the flowers here, granted they're in July now here, but during the winter time here in spring, flowers were behind some in New Hampshire versus Virginia. So I went to the grocery store, as I do every week or two, pulled out my iPhone, and they have a beautiful, actually double aisle, if you will, or out front over by the vegetables and stuff, by the of flowers. And so I just take the phone up and focus it and compose it and shoot away. Now you could see around the edges that the plastic wrap is there, and there may have been some barcodes here and there, but I just used what there, I was trying to think here. Short-term memory is just not as good as it used to be. The healing brush. I use it all the time, but I don't pay attention to what the name is. But using a healing brush to take and get rid of some of these other stuff. And when you see the next step, by putting it into topaz, going into the zoom some, masking out the flowers, and putting the zoom to give you, it blurs the background here. And then I put in a Lucerne. Topaz Lucerne is another filter that really adds a lot of texture to it. And then of course I had to put my swiggle in there for everybody to say, all right, there's Bob, then you can't even do one without it. But I think that just takes, and you could do that. It doesn't cost you anything. You didn't even have to buy the flowers. Just, take 3 or 4 and say that'll be fine until next week, and the arrangements will be different the next time you go. This was another one here where they had these orange roses, if you will, and some of them aren't perfect, but I don't know if I like necessarily that much of a green and orange color choice there, but that's what they had. So I just go ahead and mask the orange roses and put in these are the lines from the zoom, and you can move that around. There's a little square there that you can move that around to where you get the zoom to where you want. And then you have to, of course, put a swirl in, and you get all that color and masked out the wrapping and got barcodes or whatever, and you're good to go. All right, getting into sunflowers, and you're going to say, Bob, you didn't take that's the best you could do to take a picture? Well, I took the front of some, but I went ahead and made a mirror image in Photoshop of this. And this is what it comes out to. So that is one of those filters that you cannot tell. I think generally it's a lightened or a darkened blend, either lighten or darken blend based on your light blends. But you can fool yourself each time, because you will not be able to figure out how it's going to come out. The only clue that someone uses one of these is that somehow in Photoshop, the guys in the programming room had fun in that they all tend to, there's some others coming here, they all tend to have a face of some sort. How they program that, I don't know, but I don't think it's just me, because I've seen other people's work, and it's just something that it's unique to be able to put a person's or a face of some person or something into the image. So here's another one where I shot the side of the sunflower, and I went ahead and made a mirror image of it, and this is what I came out with. So you could experiment forever, and doesn't have to be a sunflower. You can use other types of flowers to get whatever you're looking for. And this may not be whatever you're looking for until the first time you do the sunflower and say, I never would have thought of that. And that's excuse me, that's one of the beauties of, I wanted to show this stuff tonight because I had a big problem, and I still probably do, in that I don't have the eyes and ears to come up with some of these what the end result should be. How do you envision that? And in many cases, I'm not envisioning it when I shoot it or when I start editing it. Sometimes, yes, I am. I do look for nice colors and editing. This is a case of that is at the gardens in Pennsylvania. And that's a lotus plant, and it is that nice bright purple and yellow. And so that's got a lot of impact, which is what I try to shoot for, is impact. And here's the face back here. And this is using the polar coordinates. The polar coordinates is a little tougher to use because it only does 3/4, and you got to take the second image and do it flip vertical, I think, is what I have to look at the sheet every time that I've made to try to figure out what needs to be done. But you can really get some beautiful stuff, and that you're not going ahead, and I'm not creating that per se. I'm not creating all the face and all of those things. I am giving it the information as to the sliders, what can be changed, but it's, it's some of it's magic, and the rest of it is what you're looking for. Is the image going to come out perfect the first time you move the sliders? No, probably not. But that's all right. Move it until you find that you're happy with it. Other people don't have to be happy. All right, there's another image that I shot there, just a slide. You get a side view, if you will, not even opened up yet. But that almost looks like a frown, if you will, on the sunflower's face. I made a copy and flipped it horizontal, and so you got it facing the other way. And you put them in the mirror image filter, and that's what your result is. And, could I envision that? Now that I shoot more of them, I start thinking of mirror images, or trying them, maybe not shooting it that way, but at least when I edit, go ahead and make a mirror image and just see what happens. It's just one of those beautiful things that that Photoshop and the creativity does for you. It causes you to be more aware of some of the details and to make something that is different. Now, another area is fireworks. Fireworks, yes, fireworks for creative images. Some of these go back in time. I mean, this happens to be, I don't know if you can see or not, but this is the file name, but this is an image from 2007. And I went ahead and I didn't make a note, but this is the same file number, ends with 294. And this file number ends with 294 also. So what did you do, Bob? And at this time, I think Dick Hudnall, who's on there tonight with us, told me to, hey, try the smudge tool, Bob, up in Photoshop. And I think that's what I did, is just went up there and pushed the colors around to come up with something that is definitely abstract. There's no arguing that. Is it everybody's going to like it? Perhaps not, but I liked that type of result from the image. So it's up to you to try different things. This is a basic, looks like just a basic two flower type of fireworks coming up at the same time. Another image here is to take that and put them into that radial blur, and then the twirl in Photoshop to come up with this configuration. And believe it or not, this has got the same file number. So, and it was on water. So this was part of it. That other image was reflection. You couldn't see it because it was in the shadows. But I went ahead and put in the topaz, not topaz, the Photoshop extrude, and made it a higher number so they were much bigger, and come up with another definitely abstract image. And then one more here, and that's cone flowers in the fall after they've been frosted. And I used to go out to the garden and do my last ones of the year. And then I'm using the topaz zoom tool to create all this blur stuff. And I put a mask on this center part of the image, and then that causes that right here, this curve is actually that flower head right there. By putting the mask onto this, the next one is going to come by and just go by it and not mess with it at all. So that's for this part of the program. That's it. I'm going to take a little break here and answer any questions.
That was great fun, Bob. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Hey, Bob.
Uh-oh, yes.
Sorry,
Now we know who did that, Norm.
I was on mute. I couldn't have done it till now. I was on mute.
Oh.
Are these various filters that you put commutative? Does the order matter?
Commutated for
Meaning,
automatic what?
if I did a radial blur and then a twirl, would it look the same if I did the twirl first and then the radial blur?
It probably would not.
Okay, just wondering how the filters work.
You're distorting pixels, and if they're already distorted before you get to that next step, then I don't think they would look the same.
That's fair.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know if you were done.
No, I'm not done. I mean, I am done. Ready for the next question.
Yes. Do you have any macro work in here? And if you do, what lens do you use?
Well, and you might not have heard that before. I have a macro 105 macro, and I've been using it less and less over the years because you have to be steady on your feet and have plenty of room to come in close. And I'm not steady on my feet. And a lot of times the flowers are so close together that I'm not able to get in close. So my macro is a 200 to 500 zoom that I put on my tripod. I sit on an aluminum bench that I have, and I shoot a lot of the flower stuff from outside the garden, or outside, outside from, the 6-7 feet away. So I'm shooting at the 400 to 500 millimeter, and that gives me fantastic results.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
I have a question. So people were talking about topaz a few months ago, and I went on to purchase it, and it wasn't that simple just to purchase a simple topaz editing software. So I wasn't really sure what to buy.
Yeah. Well, this is what I'm using for software primarily is Topaz Studio. And it's called Topaz Studio 2 because there was a one before. And they have not updated that in the last year or two. And they are officially telling people that they are not upgrading it in the future. Now, I forget who it was. Somebody from one of the clubs said that they had gone on and had found it, and they were able to get it and to use it. But I've had numerous other people say that they could not find it. It's hidden. If it's there, it's hidden way in back, and it's unfortunate. They're just spending their time on their other AI products, primarily AI photo, which is makes up the Topaz gigapixel and sharpen and denoise, and they seem to be going to make just the one program instead of the three. But
if you
no
can-
talk about what they're going to replace the studio with.
If you can find it, I believe it's free.
Okay, yeah, it was at one point, and yeah, if you can get it, but I have not seen. If someone has seen it, then hopefully maybe they made a copy of the URL to where they might be able to find it.
Yeah, I actually just downloaded it tonight and was able to log into it using the login that I had for the Sharpen and the Gigapixel.
All
It
right.
looks like, and it looks like it's fully functional. So as long as you've bought one of their other products, I can, when I go through the awards at the end, I can pull up the website, show you where to find the software and how you download it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you,
Yep.
Brian.
Sure.
That's yeah, that's good news. Those might have been one of the questions that I hadn't asked someone. Did they already own one of the other products? And if they had one of the other products, then they could use that same password and login to get to that, which I didn't know. I've had mine and I've used it all along. And even though they said they stopped updating it, that was fine, because it works on my the newer chip, on the Apple chip. So I wasn't worried about it going out of, it wasn't going to stop working anytime soon. All righty. So we got some time. I don't know how much time you're giving me now. Whether anybody wanted me to actually try to go through and do any edits on any image or not, but
Bob,
yes.
I just went onto the Topaz website, and there's a little tab on there below the programs like Topaz AI. It says download legacy programs.
Yep.
And if you click on that, it'll bring up a page where you can download Topaz 2, Studio 2.
Yep. That's what I did.
Excellent. Well, that's the way to do it. And I wouldn't wait too many months or weeks before you tried that, because if it worked, then you'd be very upset to go in and, damn, that's not working anymore. So, any other questions on any of the images, on any of the other techniques that I used, or someone wants to learn more on?
Beautiful images, Bob, and a lot of valuable information.
Well,
I
I try.
agree.
Yeah, and if we are recording this, I believe, and so you're not gonna, you at least can remember the techniques that I used to make that image. And I might have misspoke on a couple, but just write me and describe the image, and I can try to get it fixed for you. I will tell you that it is very difficult to try to duplicate an image. Where in the heck? There was one here, I think. Yes.
Just on a funny note, when you mentioned if you want to learn more on, you have to be careful with the more and on coming together.
Thank you, Robbie. Yeah. Would you believe that I wasn't an English teacher in my younger life?
Wouldn't have guessed.
Yeah.
Bob, this is Mike. Just want to thank you. I know it took some energy to put all this together and it's well organized. Do appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Very beautiful.
And I kept saying, how many do I do? How many do I do? And I said, well, if I do one a minute and work my way through them, then I should be able to get done in the hour. But it is so much fun, I think, in terms of just creating something different and unique. And someone could be sitting right next to you, is starting with the same image, and you're not going to end up with the same result. It's frustrating maybe, but then again, if you look at it as though you want to do a unique image, then do it. And that makes I think you'll have better results. You know, the other New Hampshire people don't know, but I tend to do very well in the creative part of the Shenandoah has 3 different categories: color and black and white and creative. And I try to go out and come up with some great creative. Sometimes it's difficult when you start talking what the category, because they have categories, and sometimes they're not easy to do. I'm struggling one with the next competition is got to be worm's eye view.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been trying to put the creative juices together here to come up with, all right, worm's eye view. How am I going to work on that? And but you know, when you can have a satisfaction to finish an image and to find out that it does well. And if it doesn't do well, you put it in another club and see how well it does there.
Very good.
This particular image here had won first place in a competition up in North Conway, New Hampshire, and it was definitely something. You know, the other ones are all creative, but there was nothing like that.
Did you name it?
I did not name that one. I don't think I did. And I don't know. I'd have to look. Wait a minute. No, you gotta go into the. No, I didn't put. I'm sure I must have had the name on it to enter it, but I don't always put the names in here because talking about Lightroom's one of the issues here. I try to have everything into a keyword, and that gets to be really kind of crazy in how many keywords you can have. But I end up putting down here, I don't know if you're able to see the side column or not, but I put the titles in quotation marks. But it just gives you more keywords, and but that's a issue that is not easy to handle.
Well, the image you started with to make the one you're talking about, the 2 on the line above it, those are just gorgeous.
Which ones are that? This one?
The image you're talking about where you combine the 2.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
These 2.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, if you just shot that one image, and you might say, why am I renting? You're not wasting film anymore. So all you're just getting it into your database and get to it when you get to it. And it's just fun to get there. Now, the beauty of a lot of these images that can be nowadays so much easier is the Photoshop and the Lightroom selection tools. Everybody that's not been using Photoshop and Lightroom beyond, you know, if they go back more than 2 years ago, and to select a part of the image and to enhance that between the colors and the shades and tones and all the different parts and stuff. And it's amazing now, the stuff when where'd it go? Way over here. I want to show you here. This thing here, it was able to select, when I said select subject, it selected all those. And that's what I made this out of. Now, granted, there was a step in between, but, and it did select the whole glass thing, and I decided I didn't want the whole. I was just going to use from this mark on, cork mark on type of thing. But it's just so much easier now that Photoshop has come out with all of these other selection methods, and it'll make your job so much easier. And I know some of you don't use it. I didn't use it either. It was only 3 or 4 years ago that I started using, when I started using the Photoshop and Lightroom, when it started to get a little bit easier, because I just couldn't remember all this stuff. And nowadays, even, I don't use Photoshop for stuff that I'll put on your ears, turn off your ears, because he's strictly Photoshop guy. And me, I only do the stuff on Photoshop that basically all of the effects, the filter effects and stuff. When it comes to lightening an image or sharpening an image or reducing noise or do all those other things, I go into Lightroom. I just can't remember how to do them. But the other stuff that I am doing, those other filters that I mentioned, I can remember those because I do them pretty much every couple days or once a week type of thing. So my brain can try to remember some of those. And that's why tonight there was some I was lost for words because I couldn't remember. And yet I wrote it all out during the day today to what each number was, so I could remember it. But you take advantage of those new tools that Photoshop is putting in your hands, because it's so much easier. Now, some of you maybe use On1, and I seen the advertisements this week here for On1. They've come out with a whole bunch of new features that they have to compete with Photoshop for sure and Lightroom. But whichever one you use, I just don't see how I can manage more than one or 1.5 type of thing. But everybody, there are some people that can. So, all righty.
Thank you, Bob.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank
It was
you,
very
Bob.
enjoyable.